Hello everyone, this is Mrs. Midnight, and honoring St. Valentine's Day topic will be loving video games. Yeah, I know it's not February 14th anymore, but as you know, this channel is bilingual and the Spanish version was released first. Love is in the air. And though this is the case all the year, there is a date that always reminds us of that. But did you know that it wasn't couples exclusive, not even in its origins? Actually, it wasn't romantic at all at the beginning. Actually, the ritual was pretty bloody and cruel. But oh well, maybe we will talk about that in other videos. Every one of us has sometimes heard phrases like there isn't an age for loving or love knows no gender, and some other similar ones. But video games in this top can give us great lessons about this in many other senses. Since first thing they show us is that it's not even necessary for the characters to be in a romantic relationship for having a true and deep love for each other. And this is why today we will talk about the best effective relationships in my 3 favorite indie games, these being Frambo, FACE and Little Misfortune. No worries, there will be couples inside this top too, only not exclusively. And no, I will not say the phrase "it's also the friendship day" cause besides the fact that it's really overused, in this video we will encompass more than that. Because when it comes to big words, I can't imagine a more extensive one and with so many meanings as the word love. Rules of the top. No toxic relationships. So no matter how married or allies they are, don't even mention Little Misfortune's parents, nor Oswald and Grace. Because I really doubt those are united by any affection, or at least not by any desirable one. They must be existing relationships in the games, and they must be as they were there. So shippings, crossovers, fan arts, and other creations inspired on the games, but outside of them, will not be here. Since we won't be speaking only about couples, relationships can be between 2 or more individuals. For the same reason, although I will use numbers to separate each relationship I will talk about, this top is not ordered from worst to best or the other way around, since its objective is to explore the different ways love can manifest in video games, without saying that one type of love is more valuable or better than the others. They must belong to the universes of Frambo, Little Misfortune, or FACE. But don't worry, if you like this top, we can do more of other video games in the future. Honorable mentions to Mr. and Mrs. Bo Dagenhart, Diane and Henry Fisher, and Lisa and Jim Johnson. All of them appear for very little time in their games to be able to speak deeply about their relationships, but the few things we get to see give the impression that they loved each other. Misfortune Rodriguez and Benjamin the Fox. From the beginning of Little Misfortune, in her diary the protagonist of the game leaves her feelings for Benjamin very clear. Feelings that at first could appear strange or product of her great naivety that makes her fall for him regardless of being from different species. Nevertheless, as the story develops, we get to see that she has in fact had interactions with him, which, although brief, were important for both of them. No, it's not a zoophilic relationship, because for starters, he's not a common animal from Pandora, he's a guardian from Sinercity. So in any case, if there is a name for the attraction towards creatures from other realities, I don't know what it is. From Benjamin's side, in many parts of the story he seems to be sort of affectively indifferent towards Misfortune, appearing even aggressive, pushing her to get out of his way in the cave. But constantly we see signals warning us about Morgo, the girl's situation, and the danger she is in. Signals that at the beginning seem anonymous, but if we read the Fox's diary, we find out not only that the writings, drawings, and dolls were his, but also the reasons behind his behavior, which has nothing to do with an indifference towards Misfortune, who he actually loves as well. For the ones that behaved like decent people respecting Benjamin's privacy not reading his diary, it basically talks about the quest Benjamin has to do, which includes protecting Little Misfortune. But besides what he has to do, we also learn that far from being a cold and distant fox, he is a guardian apprentice who, besides the fear of failing he has and the guilt he feels every time he does, is also living one of the most painful and hard conflicts that he could be experiencing. His duty has begun to oppose his heart, since part of the success of the mission, at least up to the point where he had written this, depends on him not making any direct contact with the girl, which forbids him from saying hello, to of course falling in love or involving himself romantically with her. For this same reason, it isn't until the end of the game when we discover that Misfortune does not belong to Pandora anymore and must follow Benjamin to Snare City, that he finally allows himself to have his first contact with her in the form of a tender hug, after which he takes her to what will be her new home. Friends of Sal Fisher, including Todd, Larry, Ashley, and Neil. One of the most beautiful characteristics of this group is the diversity of its members. Because the fact that the different personalities and preferences of each other does not become an obstacle for them to not only be friends, but being really close, is not only due to their human quality to make new friends without prejudices, but also to the sincere affection that they feel towards each other. Affection that shows in them sticking together regardless of the bad or terrifying moments and of the inevitable distance that occurs when they grow up and stop having the guarantee of seeing each other every day at school. On the other side, during adolescence we are barely prepared to help friends with the typical problems of that stage of life. And definitely nothing prepares us to help them fight against a demon and a cult that not only terrorize the ghosts from the building, but have also irremediably polluted all its living inhabitants with the darkness. Sure, as a player it's fun and interesting to go deep in their adventure, but if we put ourselves in the character's place, almost all of them ended up losing their lives in this fight, and the few of them that didn't almost lost their minds. Of course, before this happened, the characters didn't know events would develop like this. But they were aware that they were all taking precisely that risk, which no one would take until the end, just for the curiosity of seeing ghosts and demons. Beyond stopping the last ritual of the cult from succeeding, if Sal and his friends managed to defeat the darkness created by this horrible sect, was to a large extent due to no less than the light of their friendship, which was so strong that it could transcend time and even death. Sal Fisher and Ashley Campbell. Besides is one of the top's rules, I never thought of including the shipping between Sal and Larry, because although in very subtle ways, the game's narrative leaves very clear who Sal has his eyes set on from the beginning, and it's not his stepbrother. I think if we thought of the most beautiful ways that infatuations in video games had begun, theirs would be definitely among the first ones, since only a few things can connect you so much with a person as it does when they do not treat you differently after seeing a side of you that you're afraid to show. While Sally is not ashamed of his prosthetic mask, he does feel very vulnerable showing his face without it or talking about the accident that left him permanently injured. And this is what makes his relationship with Ashley so special. At least up to what the game lets us see, she is the only person besides his father that has seen his face without the prosthetic, showing him the same friendly and affectionate face that she had before seeing his wounds, which makes Sally remove his other masks as well. For example, by admitting during the re-encounter in the lake that he just could not stand it anymore and needed to explode and scream, to which she responds not only by understanding him but also by accompanying him in his scream. although life didn't allow them to be together as a couple, the feelings that these two characters have for each other show more than once, and actually stay for longer than until death does them part, to the point that she's willing to offer her own life to continue with the cause to which Sal lost his. Maybe they didn't say I love you to one another with words, but they did it many times with their actions that built them a relationship based not only in love, but also in the certainty that with that person they can feel safe, not only of the cold and the darkness, but also to show their own vulnerabilities without fearing that the other will judge them. Henry and Sal Fisher. After the tragic accident of the Dogman where Sal lost part of his face and Diane, his mother, lost her life, he and his father were left alone with each other in a family that had been brutally broken. After which, obviously, Henry was full of anger, pain, and impotence for having lost his wife like that. And on top of it, he had to, by himself, take care of his son, who he loved, of course, but even though they don't say it in the game, it's possible that Henry partly attributed the accident that made him a widow to Sally. Same way that it's likely that Sal, after finding out his mother was dead, felt guilty. We know that after Diane's death, Henry sheltered in alcohol, which clearly affected his son. Nevertheless, when the first chapter starts, we see them arriving to Addison Apartments in the search of a new beginning. And we also see that Henry's attitude has changed quite a bit, not only regarding alcohol abuse, but also his behavior towards Sal, who, although still keeps a part of that boy who needs his father, has grown up, and thanks to that, he and his father have become a team that try to move on and build a new life and family after the tragedy they lived. Maybe not everything was perfect in the Fisher family, but both Sal and his father remained united until the end due to the love they feel for each other. And even when in chapter 4, Sally can't make any exceptions and has to kill him as the rest of the tenants, at the final chapter we learn that if he hadn't, Henry would have had a worse destiny, being slowly consumed by darkness. Fisher-Johnson family. This family, formed by two independent ones, was brought together by darkness. However, all its members found in each other those people that could bring light to their lives after having felt in the abyss. On one hand, we have the romance between Lisa and Henry, who find in one another a person to rebuild their lives after losing their spouses. And on the other hand, the brotherhood between Sal and Larry, who find one in the other someone to be themselves with and protect each other from normal and paranormal adversities of life. And it's all of this together what forms this beautiful family united by love between its members and their wish to support one another. Morrison family. In spite of the fact that we do not see many interactions between Todd and his parents, the few things that we do see, combined with the way that Janice and Ryan talk about their son, show that they are a family where, in spite the different ways Todd and his folks think, everyone loves and accepts the others as they are, respecting their space and everyone's right to have the lifestyle that makes each one happy. This is noticeable firstly when Sal and Larry constantly visit Todd to discuss their findings about ghosts, to which his parents, despite of not believing too much in paranormal searches, not only don't oppose, but are also always nice to his son's friends. Later, in the 4th chapter, where Sal, Todd and Neil have become roommates and Janice and Ray have been left alone in the apartment, when talking to Ray in Todd's former room, he tells that his son never loved the idea of them turning his room into a cannabis greenhouse, but still, he does not mess with the fact that they did it, because he knows how happy it makes them. The Morrison family shows us that, Although it may sound simple, the mutual acceptance is one of the strongest foundations to sustain a family with. So when the children leave to start their own lives, the affection remains, as well as the certainty that, no matter the decisions or the way of living of everyone, that love and acceptance will not go anywhere. Thanks for watching the first part of this top, where we discuss the best loves in video games. If you liked it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Also, don't forget to click the bell so you do not miss the second part of this top. Mrs. Midnight loves you, and we'll see you next time.